Hello, first grade. This video is for Monday, March 30th. This week in math, we're going to be doing a review of fractions. We worked on fractions early in the year, but it's a pretty tricky thing in first grade, so we're going to spend some time reviewing it this week. So there are two very, very important concepts that I want to start with when we're thinking about fractions. And the first one is, what is the whole? If I asked you, do you want a half? You would say, half of what? Or if I said, give me a third, you'd say a third of what? So it's very important for us to always be recognizing and talking about what the whole is that we're dividing into equal parts. The next idea is that when we're thinking about fractions, we want to make sure that when we split things or divide groups or make parts of things that we're thinking of making sure we have a fair share. So let's pretend this is a brownie over here, okay? And I'm gonna share this brownie with Dr. C. It's a pretty big brownie. Now I took my knife right here and I cut off that edge there. And I'm gonna eat this much. All right, and I'm gonna give Dr. C that much. Is that a fair share? No, that is not a fair share. Now let's look at our pizza over here. I took my knife, I cut the pizza here. I'm going to eat that part, and I'm going to give this part to Dr. C. Is that a fair share? No. When we're talking about fractions, we need to make sure we are using fair share. So I drew this by hand, so it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. If I'm going to share a brownie with someone, I need to cut it right down the middle for it to be a fair share. So I will eat this part. Dr. C will have that part. Our pizza now, I've cut it right down the middle, so that each part is the same size. So we're dividing these into equal parts. Now let's talk about how to name fractions. When we divide something into two equal parts, I'm writing equal because remember that's an important part to remember, that it's a fair share. If we split something into two equal parts, we call each part a half. Half. Okay? That word has an L right there, which is pretty strange, but just get used to it. If we divide something into three equal parts, we call each part a third. If we divide something into four equal parts, we call each part a fourth. If we divide them into 7 equal parts, we call them sevenths. Or if we divide something into 100 equal parts, we call them hundredths. Okay, this is how we name fractions. But we're only going to be focusing on halves, thirds, and fourths. What we're going to do next is we're going to spend some time practicing representing fractions with strips of paper. So what I did was I took a couple pieces of paper from my notebook and I cut them into strips. And if you can see mine have 3 spaces in each. You can cut them however you want. You might want to cut them bigger than I did. Just make sure that they're the same size. Okay, so count however many lines you want in each strip and then cut them. Go ahead and pause your video and you can do that now. Okay, and when you have all your strips of paper ready, grab a pencil and we'll get started. What I want you to do first with your first strip of paper is to fold it in half. Now watch how I do this before you do it, okay? Now I remember that half means 2 parts, so I'm going to fold it like that. And I'll just draw on the line where I folded it, and I'll color in 1/2, right? Okay. So, what do you think? Did I do this correctly? No, I did not, because these are not equal parts. This is not a fair share. I did split it into 2 parts, but this one's small and this one's really big. This is not split in half. I'm going to go ahead and recycle that one. If I want to be folding this in half, I really need to make sure that each side is exactly the same size. So I'm going to match up those corners. I'm going to fold it. I'm going to use a pen here. You might be able to see it better. I'm going to draw right on that fold so I can see where the line is. All right. So I now have two parts, and they're equal in size. It's a fair share. So I've split this in half. I want you to go ahead and label one of your sides as 1/2. And this is how we write that, 1/2. All right. You can sort of color it in a little bit, shade it in. You don't have to get too aggressive with the coloring. So that's 1/2. Now remember, we're always going to be paying attention to what the hole is. So what's the hole here? 1/2 of a candy bar? No. This is 1/2 of the strip of paper. Okay? All right, so there's our 1/2. Take your next one. And let's fold this one into 4 equal parts. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and put a few folds in there. And then I will draw on my folds so you can see them and I can see them. All right, when we're splitting something into fourths, we want to make sure we have 4 parts. What do you think? How did I do? Are these fourths? Nope, they are not fourths. And how do you know that I have not split this strip of paper into fourths? I have 4 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4. Why isn't it fourths? You're right, they're not all the same size. This is not a fair share. This is a big one, and these ones are much smaller. I'm going to go ahead and recycle that. When I'm folding something in fourths, I have to make sure that I'm ending up with 4 parts that are exactly the same. Let's match up that corner, and then you can fold it again, matching up the corners a second time. And if you fold it 2 times like that, you should have 4 equal parts. I'm going to go ahead and draw on the fold, which you can do on yours as well. Let's go ahead and count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're equal, so we have split this paper into fourths. I'm going to label one of them here, 1/4. Thank you for being flexible with my upside down writing. 1/4, and I can go ahead and shade that in a little bit. Okay, now we're going to get tricky. Remember what we call the fraction that is when we've split something into 3 equal parts? That's right, we call them thirds. Go ahead and split your next paper into thirds. Pause the video. This one's going to take you some time to figure out on your own. Go ahead, it might take you a few different pieces of paper going in the recycling bin to figure that one out. Fold it into thirds. Okay, now that you've worked on that for a while and you've unpaused your video, I'll show you what's tricky about this one. So there are a few different ways to do this. I like to bring my edge up until these 2 sides look about even, and then I'm going to fold this one over the top. Oh, I made that first side too long, so now I'm going to adjust it before I put my hard folds in there. All right. You can see I've got it sort of like, here, I'll expand this for you. All right, I've got 3 parts. I haven't made my hard fold yet. I'm going to adjust them till they're right about equal, and then I'm going to go ahead and do my hard fold. When you open this up, you should have 3 equal parts. There we go. All right, label 1, 1/3. Oops. And go ahead and shade it in. That one's 1/3. Now, this time, on each of these we just colored in and labeled 1 part. On this time, let's do more than 1. Let's take this strip of paper and fold it into fourths, and then we'll shade in, or we'll color in 3/4. So we're going to color in 3/4 of this strip of paper. I folded mine into fourths. I have 4 parts. They're all equal. Now, if we want to color in 3/4, then we need to color in 3 of these. 1, 2, 3. I colored in 3/4 of a chicken nugget. No? You're right. It's not a chicken nugget. Always pay attention to the whole. 3/4 of the strip of paper. Now I want you to do one where you are coloring in 2/3 of your next strip of paper. 2/3. So I've folded my paper into thirds, and the assignment here is to color in 2/3, so I will color in 2 of them. 1, 2. I've colored in 2/3 of this strip of paper. Excellent work. I'm going to give you a couple challenge items that you could work on right now if you want to. One of them is to figure out how to fold the paper into sixths. Okay, so that's 6 equal parts. And also you can work on folding a paper into eighths, which is 8 equal parts. All right, between now and our next video on Wednesday, pay attention in your house for when things are split up to be shared. For example, what fraction of the pizza did you eat? What fraction of the pizza did your family members eat? Or if you split a sandwich with your brother or sister, what fraction of the sandwich are you eating? Great job, first grade, and we'll be back together for some more fractions work on Wednesday.